Welcome to Sustainability in the Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sustainable aviation. This show is brought to you by Simplifying, which has been helping build trust in travel for over a decade. Through in-depth conversation with aviation leaders, sustainability in the air breaks through the current clutter and provides a clear roadmap for the future. It's about time we embarked on creating a net zero future for the industry, together. This season of the podcast is brought to you by Carbon Click, leaders in managing carbon offsetting programs for top global airlines. Without further ado, here is your host, Shashank Nigam, CEO of Simplifying.
Our latest guest today is Mark Hiller, Dr. Mark Hiller, I should say, who is the CEO of Recaro. Recaro is one of the leading seat manufacturers in the world. And some of you might be surprised because we usually have airline CEOs or technology CEOs on this podcast. But Mark is the first supplier CEO we've got. And Recaro makes seats for some of the most successful airlines in the world. Mark, welcome to the show. And you've been CEO since 2005. Maybe give us an overview of your journey within the company and the changes you've seen then.
Shashank, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor to join your show as a seat supplier. Yes, I'm with the company with Recaro Aircraft Seating since 2005. I have begun my career with Recaro 2003 in the holding company, and then more or less moved to the smaller business at this time, the aviation part, aircraft seats, in 2005. So far, it was a very exciting journey. First of all, I took over the role being in charge of customer relevant topics like sales, program management, customer service. Then 2 years later, I got the opportunity to be promoted to the COO of the company, being in charge, I would say, of the other portion of the business, production, quality, supply chain. And this gave me a great opportunity to really learn. And 2012, I became the CEO of Recaro Aircraft Seating. So very exciting. Lots of things have changed over the almost 2 decades in the industry as well as in our company.
Absolutely. And of course, there was aviation before the pandemic and aviation post-pandemic. Have you seen the business change significantly post-pandemic? What's new? What's different?
Okay, maybe I can talk a little bit about our development as a company and also the impact from COVID and also what it does from our point of view to the industry. When I joined Recaro Aircraft Seating, we had a revenue of 120 million. We had 2 sites, one in Germany, one in the US, focusing on seating. In 2019, before the pandemic, it was our record revenue, 700 million revenue. We have grown more or less more than 10%, a CAGR of 10% every year. We have set up 3 other sites, one in China, one in Poland, one in South Africa. And we have become the market leader for economy class seats. And we also stepped into the business class life-led business. So it was really a tremendous growth. 2020 and 2021 with COVID, it was a tremendous downturn. We lost more or less 65% of our revenue, and for sure all of our customers were suffering in all of the regions. And I think this was also the first time that really a crisis affected the whole world in the same or the similar way. At this time, we made up our mind, how will it change? Traveling on board the plane. We have set up several concepts. We had intensive discussions with all of the airlines with more space, separators, antibacterial surfaces, stuff like this. It was a good discussion, was great really to consider and to do focus groups with the airlines. But in the end, we said, in the end, it's really about efficient and sustainable air travel. And the industry has worked there for decades, how to make it more sustainable already, having a better efficiency on the plane, having lower weight. And we said this will be really this will stay as a major trend, and it will continue. And so far there is not so much what has changed now. The business is coming back. The layouts on the planes are pretty similar. Sustainability got even more important, and so the trends which have been there before have been maybe even a little bit more, I would say, accelerated or a little bit more important.
Right. So that's very interesting that you mentioned how the business has changed post-pandemic, and that your focus was on sustainability already. Now, tell me, for the person who's unaware, I mean, when I go on a plane, I don't really know whether it's a Recaro seat or not. I can't actually tell that, right? Do you typically make seats at the back of the plane for economy class passengers? Do you make those beautiful flat beds in business class or even those first class suites? Which kind of seats does Recaro make for those who do not know?
So first of all, maybe one hint to figure out if it's a Recaro seat. It's pretty easy. If you sit in it, it's very comfortable. It's a Recaro seat.
Good one.
No, we are the market leader in the economy class seating business. So more or less, if you enter the plane, go to the right. This is the area where we are the market leader. Just to give you an idea, on a 350 or a 787, our market share is somewhere between 50 to 60% in economy class. So there is a high probability that you will fly off one of our seats on this type of planes. Before the pandemic, sustainability was already important. Was very important, but a couple of things have changed. I can give you an example. We have done life cycle assessment where we have evaluated our environmental impact from our products. We did it already a decade ago, and there was, I would say, one result really sticking out very much, that more or less 99% of the CO2 emission and the environmental impact is generating during the usage period, which means it's second which type of material we are using, as long it's lightweight and as long as we can increase the efficiency of the plane, maybe with the layout, with more seats on the plane. So, which means we have decided already many years ago that lightweight design is one of our core competencies, and we have invested a lot in lightweight seats. Interestingly, before the pandemic, whenever the fuel price was low, the topic was gone. And this is different now. Even for sure, when the fuel price is high, no doubt, but even if it's lower, the airlines don't care anymore. They say we need to do something on the efficiency, on the CO2 footprint to really bring down the impact or reduce the impact to the environment. And that's a great opportunity.
So that's interesting. I want to go back to a point you just mentioned, which is that you did a life cycle analysis, which revealed that over 90% of the carbon footprint is during flying. Tell me, what is life cycle analysis as it concerns a seat manufacturer like Recaro? What do you analyze? Is this done internally or externally? What are the conclusions typically? How often do you do these?
If you consider the different scopes which are defined, it's more or less considering all of the scopes, which means it's the material we are using, the material we are buying, our manufacturing process we are using. It's even including the transportation, and for sure it's also using the usage phase of the product. So it's really considering the whole life cycle of the product.
And does the team do this internally or is this done by an external expert?
We have done it with an external expert or a consultant the first time to really set it up, and now we are also able to do it internally, such a life cycle assessment.
Sure. Now, of course, you mentioned lightweight seats is the main thing, but then materials is the other thing. And the last time we spoke, you mentioned eLeather. Sounds really cool. What is eLeather?
eLeather is a artificial leather, more or less. It's a leather which has a similar, I would say, appearance and similar behavior like real leather, like natural leather, but can be lighter, can be more durable, and also leather, I would say, parts are used to produce the e-leather. So it's really one of the products helping to reduce weight and increasing durability.
Is it a bit like vegan leather bags that we might see in the shops, for example? Is it similar?
No, it's really consisting of real leather, but leather, small leather pieces which are more or less glued on a special material. Huh? And there is another maybe advantage. Normally, if you have natural leather, you have different, I would say, defects. Huh? Like stitches or whatever, which you need to cut off. And the e-leather is more a homogeneous material, so which means the scrap rate is even lower.
Interesting. So I'm guessing this is instead of, if you think IKEA, instead of hardwood, is those wood pieces cobbled together. So that's e-leather. So does e-leather mean it's a more sustainable seat?
From all what we understood, it's better. It's because it's lighter, and also from the production point of view, from the sustainability approach, what they are using to produce it, it's better, huh, than the natural leather. But you also need to distinguish between leather, I would say, and fabric. Huh? Some airlines using fabric can be even lighter. On the other hand, durability is lower. The cleaning cycles, you need to wash the fabric dress covers, which is also adding a CO2 footprint. The leather can be just, if it's natural or if it's e-leather, can be just cleaned by wiping it huh? So it's really it needs to be different aspects need to be considered, huh? To really find the right approach there.
Yeah, many years ago, I was having lunch with an airline CEO who told me that he decided to choose leather seats at that time, I think 10 years ago, because even though they were more expensive to acquire, they were much easier to maintain and clean, perhaps to your point around washing cycles. What about plastics? There's a lot of consumer awareness about single-use plastics. Are there a lot of plastics being used in seat manufacturing, and is that something that you're looking to reduce as well?
Yeah, plastics are used depending on the product. We have around about 20% of plastics uh, of the weight of the product. Huh? The majority is aluminum. There's also even steel. Then there's fabric or leather, but plastic makes up to 20%. And for sure, the one thing is about reducing the usage of plastics. The other thing is really increasing the durability. How can the durability of plastic parts be improved? One example we are doing for some of the seats, nano coating. Huh? For products like a bumper, huh, which is on the end bay, which protects more or less the seat against the luggage, can be nano coated, which means the durability is better and the appearance is also in the long run much more attractive.
That's very interesting. And all of this, I'm guessing, you're learning through your life cycle analysis.
Yes, we are learning from the life cycle analysis, and we are also for sure learning from really workshops with airlines, with suppliers, to really understand how the seat behaves and during the in-service phase. And it's also always our intention to extend the service life. Normally, an airline is using the seat maybe in a first cycle for 8 to 10 years. And it's always our intention to be a partner for the airline over the life cycle so that they are able to upgrade the product and that they can extend the life cycle of the product. Huh? Because for sure, recycling is always good, but it's even better to give the product a longer life cycle.
So you mentioned workshops with airlines. Is this something that you do when an airline buys the seat? When are these workshops held, and how often are they held? And most importantly, is sustainability increasingly a topic in these workshops?
Yes, it's a topic, and it's really for all of the airlines, from all of the regions. It's a topic. Normally, we do it really when we are designing a new product because there we have the best influence, I would say, huh, to increase the sustainability and to consider all the different aspects. What we are doing innovation workshops with airlines, really to exactly understand what they want to have, to show them what we are able to do. And then we are starting to design our products. We have several review workshops during the course of the development. And then for sure, finally, we are able to do the customizing of such products for the exact needs of the airlines.
That's very interesting that you do this hand in hand with the airlines. It's actually quite encouraging rather than you doing this on your own. One of the products, while researching for this interview, I found quite fascinating was the Recaro plug-in table, which supposedly can save an airline 1,000 tons of carbon emissions annually. I'm very curious, how was this product developed? Where is it deployed? And how can it save 1,000 tons of carbon?
Yeah, that's more or less our plug-in table concept, and this is a concept we have developed because if you monitor, if you consider especially long range, short range flights or low cost carriers, there is no food, huh? There is maybe no need for a table. And so we thought about why putting always a table on it if it cannot be used, if it will not be used, if it's not really creating a benefit. And we thought about putting a multifunctional interface into the seat where more or less the airline can decide or the customer can book food or bring your own device module, and then it can be plugged in. Then it would add weight, but it's really according to the need of the passenger and of the approach of the airline. And we have run a business case. It would reduce the weight per aircraft by around about 60 kilogram. And if you consider you have round about 50 aircraft, it's up to three tons. And in the end, it would be a CO2 reduction for the fleet by more than 1,000 tons of CO2. Huh?
Wow, that is very fascinating. So, two questions. One, how was this developed? Did you develop this in partnership with an airline? And second, where is it being deployed right now?
We have developed it during one of the innovation workshops. There have been hints or advices from different airlines. Then we have further developed it on our own, and now we are in discussion with several airlines. For sure, it's not just about the product, about the seat. Also, the service concept and the marketing needs to be adapted, and this is what we are currently discussing.
So, does it work like every single airline without tables on their seat backs will have one or two or a few of these plug-in tables, and passengers will be given this on demand?
Yes, you could book, for example, if you would book food, huh? They would put it in a trolley, the table with the food more or less, and then they would plug it in for you. Huh? If nobody would book food or something else, then there would be no table on the plane, and this would definitely then save the weight.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk a little about passenger comfort, right? And Michael O'Leary comes to mind, about taking things away from the plane, from an ultra low cost airline perspective. But that, of course, has a lighter aircraft typically has a inverse correlation with passenger comfort. Smaller seats, thinner seats. But how thin can seats go if passengers still want to fly in comfort? And I know some of these airlines, while typical flight length might be 1.5, 2.5 hours, but there are some airlines that are flying 4 hours, 5 hours on these super thin seats. How do you balance comfort with reducing weight and very thin seats?
There I would give you an example from my point of view, really a perfect example, and we would need to go a little bit back in the history of aircraft seats. So a decade ago, normally the seat back was a metal frame and with a metal blade on it. Huh? And because it was so rigid, there was the need to put a lot of foam on it to make it comfortable, which means in the end the backrest was pretty thick, huh? And was heavy. And one thing what we have introduced, we have more or less changed the backrest design. We have used an aluminum backrest frame, later on also a carbon fiber backrest frame, and we just put a netting or a mesh on it, which means on one side it's already comfortable, huh? Even without foam, and it's very, very thin. Then we have put some additional foam on it to provide some additional comfort, and then just the dress cover, which means we have reduced the thickness of the backrest. Maybe we have cut it in half, huh, the thickness, and we have increased the comfort and reduced the weight. So really bringing all the different aspects together. On top of it, we have innovated the literature pocket, huh? Because if you looked into it in the past, the literature pocket normally was in the critical shin clearance area, which doesn't make sense, huh? To put the literature or any other stuff in the critical living space, critical area. So we have moved it up. Huh? In the space between, there was space left in the seat, more or less behind the table and the backrest. And this is also one of the patents from Recaro aircraft seating introducing the high literature pocket, which means it completely changed the backrest shape. It's a slimline backrest, more comfortable, less weight, and even more durable. I know it's very much in the detail, but I think it's really bringing all the things together. More durable because normally foams are deteriorating. After 3, 4 years, you need to replace the foam. Also, the sustainability topic. If you just put a thin foam layer on it, you're just replacing really a small part over the years. So this really brings all the different aspects together.
That's very interesting. So what you're saying is that is the thinner seat is still more comfortable than those thick padded ones and more
And
sustainable
lighter. Yeah.
and lighter.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, that's fascinating. Now let's talk. Something you mentioned earlier is also higher density. We are seeing airlines squeeze in more seats in the plane. So yes, per person carbon footprint goes down, but then passenger comfort, I'm not really sure if I want another elbow fight with my neighbor on who gets the armrest. How do you solve that?
Yeah, first of all, these are the two, I would say, two main levers. One is weight, and the other one is the density or the layout efficiency, how we call it, to really drive sustainability on the plane. And I would like to add also one more aspect, which also I would say is almost unique to aviation. Due to retrofitting the seats, you can increase the efficiency or make the existing fleet more sustainable. huh? It's not like with cars. To make the fleet of cars more efficient, you need to replace it maybe with a new engine technology, the whole car. For aircraft, you can more or less increase efficiency and sustainability by doing a retrofit of the cabin, which is a smaller investment, and the impact is immediately there. So this is something. Then on the density, for sure, it's always a trade-off. On one side, to make the seat as slim as possible, and then a question how much space you are using to add additional seats or to provide more comfort to the passenger.
And that's fascinating. The weight is ultimately the key factor, and density matters as well. One of the other things is we are used to buying stuff from the supermarket, and they all come with recycling information, right? I've never seen a tag on a seat which says, "Here's how you recycle the seat." Recycling, of course, though, is important because airlines do get rid of seats. How are you working with airlines to promote seat recycling and upcycling efforts?
So recycling of seats in general is possible. Seats can be pretty easy. It's pretty easy to disassemble the seat, to put the different materials and also use the different materials to give it another life. We are also using already round about 20% recycled materials for our seats. So which means the aluminum or plastic parts, there's already recycled material in. Um, the one thing what needs to be considered, flying the seat back, for example, from Asia to Germany to recycle wouldn't be a good concept. So which means we need to team up with local service providers for the recycling of the seats. That's one thing. This is where we are working on with the airlines if they are doing a retrofit to set up a recycling concept locally, so that it really makes sense. The other thing is we are also doing upcycling. I would say that's a nice topic. We did it together with an airline out of Asia. We have more or less given them the leather from their leather dress covers, the material, the cutoffs back, and they have produced merchandising articles for it. So I think that's also a nice thing. It's also a nice marketing campaign. Nevertheless, for sure, the best thing for seats is to give it another service life, to modify the seats, to further upgrade it, and to use it further.
I think the airline you're referring to is Peach Aviation, a
It's
former
PGL.
is also a former Simplifying client, and I remember that they had upcycled their seats into card cases, coin purses, key holders, a lot of fun stuff that people do as well. Are you seeing a lot of airline customers coming to you and saying, "Hey, we want to do this and offer this to our customers"?
Yes, there are here and there requests, I would say, for some of these areas, but for sure, mainly it goes down to the dress cover, the leather, or the fabric, huh?
Yeah.
So not so much to the structural parts, for sure.
What about, I think it was Lufthansa that recently had a big upcycling sale where they had tables made out of engine cowlings, and they had old aircraft parts recycled into like bar stools. Is that a trend? Do you think it's coming, or you think it's just a one-off niche thing?
I think it's great, and for me, being in the industry and being, I would say, motivated and amazed by the industry, it's great. But I would also consider that the majority of people, huh, they are not so fascinated about such I would say upcycling products, huh, and would put more or less a bar which is made out of former aircraft part into their living room, huh?
Exactly. I
Uh,
actually have two former Air Canada 767 business class seats at home, which I managed to
okay.
get at an auction. So yes, I did participate in seat recycling as well.
We did the same at our side. We have more or less acquired a tail fin from a Boeing 707, huh, and put it up as a, I would say, sign for
Wow.
being an aviation company at our headquarters here in Germany.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think the coolest one I've seen is at an executive's office. I saw a wing, part of a wing, which was his table, a
Okay.
fully polished aluminum wing. And I was like, wow, that is quite something. I think we can geek out over this for a long time. But another interesting partnership we researched into was the work you're doing with Panasonic, the in-flight entertainment company, in shaping passenger experience together. Tell me, how are you working with the likes of Panasonic for making the cabin experience more sustainable?
That's also a very great example, and there I would also say a lot of progress is seen over the years, huh? So, as said, when I joined the industry, I can tell you how it worked, huh? We got an order from an airline for the seat. An IFE supplier got the order for the newest and latest and greatest IFE system. And the first time when we met was more or less at a kickoff meeting. And then we tried to figure out how to bring the two systems together. And you can imagine the result was always great, but was not best possible, huh? Because there have been two systems developed more or less independent. And over the last years, we have really developed great relationship with IFE suppliers, especially also with Panasonic. And so we have more or less always aligned during the development of our latest and greatest economy class long range seat, and they on their new Astrova IFE system. And in the end, we were able really to present, I would say, an unbeatable combination of both, having really lightweight products which are 10 to 30% lighter than the predecessor model, having a perfect integration. We got also very good feedback on the integration, that it's very sleek. And for sure, also the Panasonic system. What I've learned, for example, it's also upgradable. So they have different bars which can be upgraded to a next generation later on. I think that's also in terms of sustainability a great thing. That not the whole system needs to be replaced. That parts of the system can be just upgraded, huh? So there we are really luckily working together with Panasonic, and hopefully the delivery of the combined product soon.
That's very interesting to see partnership in the ecosystem across. And
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
I've been in some of these kickoff meetings where suppliers are meeting for the first time based on what the airline has purchased. It's great to see this evolution and how things are moving. At the beginning of the interview, you mentioned how you have a German plant and a US facilities and South African facilities. As an organization at Recaro, what are you doing from a corporate perspective to reduce your overall carbon footprint?
What we are doing for sure, we are using renewable electricity, for example, at the sites. What else? What have we done in terms of? And the great thing is that I would say sustainability and efficiency goes very well together in many cases, huh? And what we have done, we have completely redone our manufacturing footprint to a paperless production. And this is, for example, it's saving almost 5 million sheets of papers per year, which is more or less equal to 40 trees, more than 40 trees per year. But also provides additional efficiency, and it's also improving the ergonomics for the workers on the line. For sure, it's investment, but as said, it really supports all the different directions. Then we have also invested in new equipments. For example, we are able to do crash testing, flame lab testing internally in the meantime. We don't need to ship the seats around to get it tested. So the insourcing is helping there. And in general, our global setup is that we are in the region for the region, which means our site in Fort Worth, Texas, is more or less responsible for the North and South American market. Our sites in Poland and Germany for Europe, and our site in Qingdao in China for Asia. So this is really also reducing transportation efforts from us to either the airline or to the OEM to install the seats.
That is very interesting. It almost reminds me of the local food movement that is going on. Buy local, and already the food is fresher and more
Yeah.
sustainable. That's great to know. Uh, Now I know while most of your business is economy class seating and back of the plane, you do manufacture business class seats as well. And I have had a previous guest, Dan Rutherford from ICCT, who said turning left is like driving a Hummer and turning right is driving a Prius. Uh, what's your stand? Can business class passengers ever make flying sustainable? Can business class flying ever be sustainable?
This reminds me about a dispute. I think it was a year ago, maybe, between one of the low-cost carrier CEO and one of the legacy carrier CEO, where more or less from the legacy carrier, the complaint was that the low-cost carriers are not sustainable because they are supporting flying everywhere and every day at a low price. And the low-cost carrier CEO more or less said, okay, but we are having the most efficient fleet. We are not having business class with using a big footprint and with a high weight. So we are the ones driving the sustainability approach. And I think both are somehow right. In the end, for sure, we feel, first of all, quite comfortable because we are the market leader in economy class and really striving and pushing the sustainability topic very much. Nevertheless, in business class, we have developed one of the lightest business class seats with the best efficiency in terms of layout, which means this is really bringing down the environmental impact. If you consider the CO2 footprint per passenger. This is helping there, but nevertheless, for sure, the footprint you need to have for a business class seat is higher than for an economy class seat. There is no doubt about it. I also would like to mention what, from my point of view, also being industry is really great what KLM did with flying responsibly. And I think it's also up to us to really review if it's necessary to fly and where and how to fly. And I can also say, for me, maybe it's just a little small example. Also considering my luggage. Normally, I'm traveling light, but for me, it's also important to understand if it's really necessary to take everything on board and to increase the weight. Because for me, it doesn't make sense that we're shaving out every gram out of a seat, and then I would put a big suitcase in the in the belly of the plane. So therefore, I think there is also something what can be done really by the passengers to do it responsible.
Well, that's very good to know. I was going to ask you, what are you doing yourself to fly responsibly? And glad to know, you're traveling light yourself. What would your advice be to these sparring airline CEOs on sustainability? I don't think, firstly, they should be fighting. I think each is doing something in their own right. But what would your advice be to an airline CEO?
From my point of view, if you right now, if you take more a global picture on sustainability right now, I would say all the different industries, they're trying to figure out what is the impact. If is it 2% or 2.5% from aviation, or what's the impact? I would say it doesn't matter. Huh? There is an impact and there's a lot of potential. And it's about us really to tackle this potential and to reduce it. And it's also great to see that on one side there are a lot of initiatives ongoing, but there is still a lot of potential left. Huh? What I said before, retrofitting the existing fleet, doing an investment, but really increasing efficiency. This is possible. No? There is even more when you for sure talk about the engines, if you're talking about all the different routes and so on, there is a lot of potential left. And I think this is something we need to tackle and not to think too much about it. If it's 2 or 3% from our industry, I think there is potential. Huh? We need to take serious and we need to work on.
Fantastic. No, I truly appreciate, and I'm sure a lot of airline CEOs would appreciate that as well. What do you think are many airlines getting wrong in their approach to sustainability?
It's always difficult to judge from nowadays in what they are doing wrong now, more or less. Huh? In the past, I think it's much more easy for sure going back in the past and figuring out that it was wrong. What I explained when we did the life cycle assessment more or less a decade ago, it was very interesting. It created a lot of attraction because the fuel price was high. When the fuel price was low, the attention was gone. And I think this was something which was not right. Huh? And therefore, I would say from a positive point of view, right now the airlines and from all the regions are doing it really good and doing it right to focus on it regardless of the fuel price. Huh? And it's completely understood that it needs to be tackled.
Yeah, no, I think that is truly encouraging as well. I definitely see that trend. The final part of this interview, Mark, is a rapid fire round in which I'm going to ask you some questions and you have to come up with an answer very quickly in a very short format. And we'll start simple, like what's your favorite movie, for example?
My favorite movie, honestly, I don't have so much a favorite movie. I'm not watching that many movies. Huh? Normally, I'm reading a book, huh? And also on the plane, it maybe sounds very strange. Normally, I'm not using the IFE system that much. Huh?
I'm sure Panasonic is not very happy about that. So let's start with book. Let's start with books then. What's your favorite book? And if you have a favorite book on sustainability, actually.
Yeah, that's definitely there is one book. It's also going back quite a while. I read a book end of 90s, huh? And it was already on sustainability, and it really catch my mind because it was called Factor 4, and it was called Double Wealth, Half Consumption. And the great thing about this book, it was not about the restriction and just reducing it. It was really, I would say, describing what is possible with efficiency, with an efficiency revolution to get the factor 4 out of the resources we are using, or even better, just using half of the resources and getting more or less the double outcome. Huh? And this really was from my point of view really very innovative, huh, at this time already, and for sure it was also motivated really from the impact what we are doing on Earth, how we are using the resources, that something needs to be changed, huh?
That is very
But
fascinating.
very positive that it's more or less in our hands to do it and to turn it around.
Exactly, double wealth and half resources, you said?
Yeah, half consumption, double wealth. Huh?
Half consumption, double wealth. I'll definitely check it out. I'd not heard of that one. What about your favorite green city?
That's Cape Town. Huh? So I'm really impressed about Cape Town for sure. It's also a city with a lot of challenges, no doubt about it. But what they are doing and how they are striving for sustainability, I think that's really great. And for sure, it's also a fun city, and there is a lot to do. And I'm also joining normally, if it's possible, the Cape Town cycling tour. It's also a nice tour around Cape Town, where you can really enjoy the vicinity of Cape Town.
That's fascinating. Is it only in Cape Town, the city, or do you go all the way to Hout Bay and further up?
You go more or less around. It's 110K, but
Oh,
it's all
fantastic.
around there. Huh?
Oh yes, it's a stunning location. One of my favorite cities as well, and I was fascinated how the top of Table Mountain is its own microclimate, and a lot of the species there are not found really anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and also the people living in Cape Town are very, I would say, linked and close to nature. So that's really great.
Exactly, exactly. Do you have a controversial opinion on sustainability? Something the world typically would disagree. with you on?
Maybe one thing, because the high fuel prices. From my point of view, I think it's a big chance. And not as Recaro doing lightweight seats, but I think if 10 years down the road, and then looking back, it could be maybe what we are having right now, energy crisis, high energy costs, high fuel prices. I think this could have been, looking back, the perfect, I would say, trigger to turn things around and to accelerate things. Yeah? But for sure, if I would tell you right now, and if I would tell everybody, so high fuel prices and high energy cost is really great, I guess this is pretty controversial. But I guess it's really an accelerator for what we are doing and what we need to do in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I think high fuel prices are an opportunity if you look at it the right way. Next question is, what is something you still want to learn?
There are many things I want to learn. I just have the fear that there is not enough time, honestly. So that's the challenge. Maybe I need to learn how to make better use of the remaining time I have.
So what is the one thing that you want to learn?
There are really many things I want to learn, and I can tell you in my role there is really a big pity because you are more or less just scratching the surface on many topics, and all of the topics also in our company. If it's about engineering, if it's about supply chain, it's always great to really understand and to learn from the people who are really working on it. What are the challenges? What they are doing? But unfortunately, with the time constraint, that's really the topic.
Fair enough, fair enough. And final question, what is the best advice you've ever received?
I would say that's an advice from my father. He always gave me, already as a kid, he always said, there is nothing that cannot be improved.
Okay, fair enough. And
for sure, you need to think about if it's needed or if it's beneficial to improve it. But more or less, really, there's always something. There is always something what can be improved.
That's fantastic, Mark. I think this you are embodying this philosophy in what you're doing at Recaro, constantly improving the seats, their weights, the materials being used, even density, right? It's constant improvement over time, and ultimately that not only helps reduce the weight but also helps the sustainability focus of airlines these days. And it's truly fascinating to learn what a seat manufacturer can do in pushing the drive towards sustainability. Thank you very much for your answers. Is there anything else that we have not touched upon that you want to share?
I think that's more or less it. And thank you very much for your interest in our, I would say, microcosmos about seats. We are completely excited about it because from our point of view, it's really on one side, it's a very technical product. On the other side, it's more or less the interface to the human being. And so this is something what is really fascinating us. And thank you very much for your interest.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much for the insights, Mark. It was great having you on the show.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sustainability in the Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sustainable aviation. We hope you liked it and will share it with your network. Please also leave us a review. Awareness is the key to a green future. Your support will help our insights on sustainable aviation reach a wider audience. In addition, for every single listen of this podcast, we will plant a tree. And for every single review, we will plant 50 trees. You can also write to us at podcast@simpliflying.com. And for more content on sustainable aviation, please visit our website, simpliflying.com, and join the movement.